This time I'm going to sing. But before I sing, colleagues, as the program director has said, we have a new leadership at the BBC. And before I get into obviously introducing the new leadership, let me also take this opportunity once again to acknowledge colleagues from peer organizations and from regulatory institutions that are with us today. Mayor Priscilla Mdlalose from the CBE, the Council for the Built Environment. Can you just stand up, Mayor, so that people can see you and acknowledge your presence? So please, let's go and understand our environment properly, especially our professionals. CBE, very important organization that oversees the activities of all the 6 councils that registers our professionals. And we also have in our midst Mr. Chris Campbell from CESA, Consulting Engineer, South Africa. Thank you very much, Mr. Campbell. And I omitted earlier to also introduce another representative from the NHBRC. This is the lady that has been looking well after us in our relationship with the NHBRC since we started our partnership with them. Mayor Titinti Mushweu, is she still here? Thank you very much, Mayor. Thank you very much for your presence. Thank you very much for your presence. Ladies and gentlemen, the BBC held its elections last week. And I'm sure that most of you are aware that we now have a new leadership in place. Leadership, they were here earlier. Unfortunately, due to time constraints, we couldn't call them earlier. But we have somebody from that leadership who's going to give us 5 minutes in Yanafela, just to share their thoughts with us on the vision for the new BBC. Talking Zunguphoria here. We hear somewhere that Ramaphoria is dissipating. Here, we're talking Zunguphoria. It's fresh. So we are all energetic, we are all united behind our leadership, and we want to make sure that the BBC succeeds. So that the BBC can assist us to assist you. If the BBC doesn't work at the top, we don't work as well. Because our filter, the first thing we put on Kurna, what is happening at BBC? You have not even gotten into your issues as BBCBE. Now you must answer to what is happening at BBC. So that's why it was key for us to be able to have the new leadership and have our own new dawn. This is a chap. Sun is rising at the BBC. We are hoping that this leadership is not going to fail us. That this leadership will lead us into economic prosperity that we are all looking forward to enjoying as members of the BBC. So wherever you are, just know, just because you don't pay membership to BBC doesn't mean that you are not a BBC member. You are, because you belong to the BBCBE, which in turn is a member of the BBC as our overall mother body. This week, Dr. Tia was asked to Norman, Kati, what happened to the BBC? They had the president speaking on ETV, speaking about hawkers. So people are shocked. So no man, Kati BBC Kopanakali do hawkers. So I had to educate people to say, you see, at BBC, you have got member associations. One of those member associations is NAFCOC. NAFCOC has got a division or an association in there called ACHIP. That one is for the hawkers. So even the hawkers in Johannesburg, in Pretoria, wherever you go in this country, are also members of the BBC. Because of how the BBC is structured. We call it a confederation. It is right at the top. And then all of us then organize in different sectors of the economy, including the hawkers, ladies and gentlemen. So don't be shocked when the president talks about spaza shops and the issues of Pakistanis. He's talking about issues that affect his constituency, who are in that sector, the retail sector. So Let me then just introduce to you, the leadership, and then I will introduce to you the speaker who's going to speak on behalf of the leadership this morning. The president, ladies and gentlemen, ke Ntate Sandile Zungu, ke president Amusha. Brand new from the box. So in the BBC, we've got different chapters. So we've got a chapter that deals with business organizations and a chapter that deals with professional organizations. So the vice president for business is Mr. Keith Thabo. He's still busy in a meeting next door. The vice president, professionals, ke me Nkuli Bohopa. The chairman of the organization, ke me Bridget Khatebe. The head of policy, ke Ntate Tilson Manyoni. Me, I see that the treasurer is here, so he will stand up so that you can see him. The treasurer general of the organization, ladies and gentlemen, is a young person, key youth. And for a very balanced, if you look at our leadership, it's very balanced. So the youth is there. And we also went for a youth that can add value. So he's also a chartered accountant. We don't do normal bookkeeping. These are sophisticated financial statements. Yeah, audited financial statements. That is a fella simple bookkeeping. That's the quality of leadership at BBC. The quality of leadership. So, colleagues, please welcome the Treasurer General with a very warm applause, Ntate Bonolo Ramogele. And the Secretary General of the organization, ladies and gentlemen, is Judy Nokwedi. Ela elilizwe ela makozi gazi asoze aphela mandla soze aphela.
This particular chapter is very close to my heart. Some of you will know that I've been involved in nuclear energy infrastructure, having worked for Areva, the French multinational, a vendor, and so I've always been involved in this particular space. And before that, in the broadcasting and telecommunications infrastructure space. So it's very close to my heart and a big vested interest. But I represent the Guma Group, which is part of the business chapter. And as this young, irrepressible dynamite, he's like dynamite, Gregory. As you know, before you start building anything, you have to do the implosions and the explosions. And his energy is just irrepressible, which is so fantastic, which is the kind of energy we need as we take the BBC forward. And in turn, as we move forward, the country moves forward. And it's very clear and very, that the challenge and the mandate that we have is the new set of office bearers. Whilst it's daunting, we are up for the challenge because we're coming from a space of where we need to insist on, which is critical for everything we do, that if there are no systems and policies and governance structures in place, things will go wrong. And even if you've got the best systems and policies, institutions, governance practices in place, it then comes down to two fundamental issues, and that is the case of values. That if you don't enter an organization, a company, a home with the right set of values, which is born on ethics, authenticity, and integrity, it will go wrong because it's about a combination of systems and people, and those two need to converge and merge because that's where you have true growth, true development, and prosperity for all. Because it doesn't matter how much money you have, if people are not represented, if there's no inclusivity, only a few stand to gain. And if you're on that summit taking a selfie, then you're in a very seriously miserable place because you've empowered no one to be with you on the summit enjoying the rise. And as you look down into the valley to see how You have ensured that everyone living in the valley and in the villages and in community are part of your rise to the summit. So on behalf of us as the BBC, the newly elected officials, we have a lot of rebuilding to do. Because again, with values and ethics, if people don't trust you, they're not going to do business with you. And as the representatives of the Black Business Council, if we don't restore trust with our principles as in our major shareholders, the government of South Africa, trust with the investment committee, trust with the bankers, and then trust with our people on the ground who are in need of development. No more pit latrines, no more water that's not healthy in terms of health and sanitation. So we have we have a task on our hands. We're up to it. I like the Zungaphoria. I don't know quite how you would say Nokwedi-phoria, but that doesn't matter. We have a term of 2 years. We are here to build. We want to move forward. There is a wind of change sweeping through the country. We have huge challenges come 2019, but we know one of the key roles of the BBC as we advance black business, as we lobby for black business, as we grow black business, we need to make sure that the biggest procurer in this country, government, ensures that we have our rightful place at the table and that our piece of the pie is clearly staked, demarcated and ring-fenced, and that is the role of the leadership, together with the leaderships of the subsidiary organizations, and together with you who are our primary dividends. I mean, in terms of where dividends go, you are the beneficiaries of those dividends. So together we can do it, itumamina, and you need to hold us accountable, but it works both ways. We cannot be held accountable and represent organizations and business people who do not uphold the highest levels of governance in terms of how they run their businesses. It is incumbent on us to set the pace for our younger, up-and-coming, fantastic young people who are moving mountains, creating opportunities in sectors that are new, because the future, in terms of the jobs that are out there, those jobs have not even been created. So together with youth and wisdom, we have what it takes. We have incredible talent in this country, and it's up to us to make sure that we showcase that talent. And to the women in the room, there is a healthy representation, and that is just so encouraging as well. And in conclusion, again, when we have our conversations with the men who are very important in our lives, as equally important as you are in our lives, it is important to say quite clearly, unequivocally and unapologetically that our bodies are not your crime scenes. And if we cannot be safe at home and if we cannot be safe at work, nobody will be safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. You spoke like what we expect from this new leadership. And I think, just running through the program, this is the first woman on the podium to speak. Let's give her a big hand and big applause. And I think you've got a breath of fresh air. Yeah. Thank you.